We live? Are we live? We live? Hello? Is anybody out there? Buenos Tardes, YouTube. We're back in little mountain village, British Columbia, back in sweaters and toques, because it's just not as warm here as it was there. Boasting a brilliant 47 degrees Celsius on some days out there in the desert on our camping trips, and experiencing Cabo like people that experience Cabo when they go to Cabo. But I mean, we did find some things where everything there is kind of just like commodified US, kind of like an extension of the US almost, I would say. Prices were pretty much the same as here. We'll get that a little bit later. So it was really hard to find anything authentic Mexican to bring back for all of you guys, for us to benefit from. But we did manage to find some pretty amazing ponchos for a pretty decent price.
Ta-da!
So these things were roughly 1,500 pesos. So like what, 140, something like that, Canadian. And they're amazing. They're wool on the outside, and then they're lined with alpaca. They're absolutely comfortable. And I wouldn't have thought that something this kind of weather prepared for a colder climate would be that wonderful out there. But when we were camping, it was great to have these, like the openness of the wind, as well as being able to cuddle into these things on our own or together, was pretty fantastic. There's also like a lot of different ways you can wear them. Maybe we'll get into that when we have a little more space to move with. And so who we got here?
I think Larry is here.
Is
he
Larry
said
here?
hola.
Hola,
Hola,
Larry.
Larry.
And so we're out here on the balcony drinking mezcamiaca or something like that. If somebody knows how to pronounce that better, try typing it out so we can pronounce it better. A little bit of phonetics for you. So this beautiful little bottle is a mixture of mezcal and something else. Tasting a little grapey mezcal for you.
I just want to check with everyone out there. Are we blurry to you guys? And pixelated?
Yeah, we do have a better connection this time around, or we should anyway. We are in a small mountain community, British Columbia, up in the mountains into the interior. So our internet does seem to be off here and
blurry.
there. Yes, it's blurry. No McScary? Who is No McScary? Is that
That's Larry.
That's Larry. Larry's No McScary. Okay, well, we're going to be transitioning inside soon enough. We thought we'd be out here try and catch some sunset in our beautiful valley view. Fortunately, we're overcast here. How's it how is it out in Cobo, Larry? How you doing out there? What's the weather like? Are you blurry? And for anybody that did tune into our little escapades on the pirate ship, a friend of ours that has done some compositions musically for the channel, Larry says it's warm. He mentioned and was kind of shocked and surprised and was like, wow, man, how did you manage to enter the reality of Minecraft? So I guess when I look back at that video, out on the ocean there, our connection wasn't great for data. Just being in a foreign country as well on eSIMs didn't help the matter. But yeah, just big blocky chunky pixels. So we just basically looked like we were partying on a Minecraft pirate ship. So thanks for everybody that tuned in and was watching and stuck through that. And I'm surprised even the processing of the upload of that video ended up being just the same quality of pixels. So some good quality pixelization was happening for that one. So apologize for that.
Larry says that he is always blurry.
I think we know that from experience, Larry. But nice to see you out there. Is anybody else here? I can't see. We got a count of...
We've got 3 people.
3 people right here. Larry's very talkative. Come on, Larry. Let's hype these people up so they can get some comments and see where people are coming in from. We got some friends from New York that had commented earlier before we even went live. Those comments aren't showing up. So I believe there was failed magician from New York. One of my old students from Direct Impact Wing Chun when I was teaching Wing Chun in Victoria, who's now taken over that email account and doing Wing Chun stuff out in Victoria, had mentioned. I don't think they're here yet, but anyway, Yeah, so we've got Larry kicking around and a couple other people, some people that are invisible to us. And we're totally exposed here, guys. Come on, tell us where you're watching from. This is what we look like right now. See, that's not what's on my screen. So you get some double blur going on. I think what we're going to do is we're going to move downstairs inside to the cabin and find a little bit of fire warmth there. So let us grab our stuff together and you guys can come on down with us and we can check out from the cabin and hopefully we've got a little better connection in there because it's super brilliant on my end over here. So hopefully when this video does finish processing and upload to the regular channel listings, it's not as blurry as all that. Sometimes out here as well, because we're on satellite internet, having your data running at the same time can bog things down and whatever. So we'll get a little experimental here in just one moment. And we're back with the doggos. Everybody knows Riggs, of course. The Riggs Wonder. Larry, I don't think you've met the Riggs Wonder, have you? Riggs, who's that? Is that Larry? Is that Larry and some other people? There we go. We got Marlo kicking around here too. He's just jumped up on the couch. So we're back inside now. What does this look like to everybody out there? Are we a little bit better, a little less pixelated? How are you looking on your phone?
Still pretty pixelated.
Still pretty pixelated. Okay, this is a new thing because we've done lives from here before and it hasn't been a problem. Let me know if that changes for you guys. Rochelle's on it as well as she is monitoring everything and just moderating the comments and questions and stuff. So if anybody's got anything to say, she'll be relaying that to me and back to you guys so we can answer whatever questions you have. Yeah, still pixelated?
Still pixelated.
Still pixelated. Okay, so we're going to try turning off our data. Or, you know, we're turning off our Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi is cases here at the cabin and data seems to come through a little better. I'm going to get rid of this poncho now that we're inside and it's a little toasty.
Oh, that's better.
There we go. How's that for you guys? Yeah, I blame YouTube for most of my problems in life these days.
I did also get out of the, Larry said it fixed it.
Sweet. Okay, so we're back to better, like we were ever better before. So yeah, that blaming YouTube for it, and you know, YouTube's a bit of an issue. So we'll talk a little bit about how while we're waiting for more people to tune in regarding Cobo. So basically what we're doing is we're going to be transitioning the channel the next year in 2025 to focus on some other stuff. And we're going to be focusing on less how-tos, unless, you know, we feel like it and we just feel like making a video. We're breaking our broadcast scheduling, which I know you're not supposed to do. So there won't be a dedicated video every week moving forward. Reason for that being is that on YouTube, in order to monetize, you need to get 4,000 watch hours in a period of 1 year. So when we're climbing and getting all of our views and stuff on each video, basically, we're chasing our tail from the previous year. So for example, getting 16,000 views on the Cobo survival hacks video last year around this time, we're competing. So after a year goes by, you lose all the watch hours that you had from the year before, timed seemingly to when your video comes out. So this video, like this week, we did a live instead of releasing a video on Thursday. So for example, if we had done a video yesterday and we got like 5,000 views. So those watch hours from those 5,000 views are now competing with, say, another high-ranking video we had last year that got 19,000 views, which was I think it's Fatwood's Dirty Uncle, where we talked about how hobo fire starters, natural hobo fire starters, and the curacao and the railroad ties. So we were competing back then we would be competing with 19,000 views, and the watch hours accumulated from that to, say, yesterday's video at 5,000 views. So we lose the watch hours. We're competing constantly and whatever, and we're just stuck. Like back in the summer, we reached 3,000 views, which allowed us to open up our store. And presently, with all the videos done since midsummer, like 10 videos maybe, all the watch hours and the views from that just didn't compete well enough. So now we're down from 3,000 views to 2,820 views. So we're not able to push the envelope beyond into 4,000 view ratio. So we're just taking a little bit of a stretch out and stretch back, and we're going to convert the channel into more adventure tourism kind of stuff, like you've seen with our.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Olivia. Where's Olivia coming from?
Olivia is in Vancouver. She was my coworker on the last movie that I worked on. She's great. I love her, and I thank you for tuning in, even if for just a minute, Olivia.
And for those of you that don't know, Roxy not only does a lot of our videography, and transitioning to doing a little bit more drone piloting when Davidson isn't around, he's primarily doing all of the drone videography, and Roxy is also a set deck lead for the Vancouver film industry, and so that's what she does. I'm kind of partially retired now, but I come from a properties on-set department head background in film, as well as little bits of armory here and there. So in transitioning out of this, what we're doing is we're looking at, with the whole annex coming up from the US and whatever, looks like the whole SHTF is going to be coming on a little less exciting and a little more passive aggressive for all the preppers out there, with this annex and the passive aggressive takeover for US trying to force Canada into a buyout, and just don't necessarily want to be around for that. There's better adventures. Our savings is doubled if we relocate an expat or immigrate to another country. And what we'll be doing is starting a off-grid living situation out there with cabin builds and stuff like that. And we're going to sort of like go into like a Sean Gatz kind of format for this channel. If you don't know Sean Gatz, check him out. It's I believe it's SEAN GATZ, fellow out in somewhere deserty.
Nevada?
In where?
Is it Nevada?
Nevada, maybe, something like that. And he's bought up all this desert property, and he's putting communal housing on it for homeless people. He's had an event out there. He also started running a food truck recently, got married recently. Great channel, Sean Gatz's channel. That's kind of an example of what we're moving into with more adventure sort of tourism kind of stuff, like when we went out to Ross Lake for one of our friends' birthdays out on the dirt bikes, and we did the sort of hobo pack out because we didn't have much room on the dirt bike to get what we needed there to do our cooking, to do our bushcraft out there. So more adventure travel like that, a lot of local destinations coming up. I still need to do winter overnighter in the Four Seasons Hennessy hammock. We have this amazing unsanctioned, totally illegal graveyard that we've discovered. It's out by one of the hobo jungles out in Boston Bar, and it's an absolutely beautiful, amazing place. There's a nice stream running down. It overlooks the Fraser Canyon, and the tombstones there are actually originally started years ago when I was hopping freight and benching out in Boston Bar. There was I came across this cross that had been welded together of two chainsaw bars with the guy's name on it, and an old soggy package of cigarettes somebody had left for him. I think there was like a Poison CD, the first CD, and like the cover was sun bleached. It was all wrinkled and drenched, and CD was inside of it. And people leave stuff there for him. Whatever. It turns out he was an arborist that died on the job out in Boston Bar. And since then, there's now two giant pistons from like some kind of big rig that have been welded together. And that's another marker for a trucker that was out there. And there's a few other ones that have popped up over time. So it's an unsanctioned graveyard. I'm not sure if it's just bodies buried there or cremated urns or whatever, but it's pretty cool. So we're going to try and get together. We're not getting much snow out here, but as soon as it snows, we're going to get out there and do an overnighter in the graveyard, where I'll let Roxy tell you a little bit about her past with the paranormal while I go and try and find a cigarette because I'm out.
Okay, well, I just got thrown into that. So, I used to live in Virginia, and after my dad passed away, I wanted to know
the cigarettes?
if
God
there was life after death.
You get cheaper native cigarettes.
So I ended up finding a parallel.
Anywhere.
Okay, I can't focus. So I ended up connecting with a paranormal investigative group called the 757 Ghost Hunters.
I usually hide cigarettes around here for when I'm out, and I can't find any of them, so I don't know what's up. I got like cigarette ghost thieves.
Anyway, so 757 Ghost Hunters. I ended up connecting with them. They had a little like ghost tour going on in Williamsburg, Virginia, which is like the oldest part of Virginia. And
Where are the cigarettes?
and we ended up going to the oldest jail, which was just probably about a 10 by 8 jail cell. And it was just a standalone jail cell out in the middle of nowhere. And apparently, Blackbeard had been jailed there at one point.
The infamous Edward Teach. Check out our store listing for the hero sweater with the infamous Edward Teach quotation on the libertarian hoodie.
So, we were in the jail cell, and everybody was kind of in the center, and we would ask questions, and we're like, if you are here, scratch the wall once for yes and twice for no, kind of thing. And we asked a bunch of questions, and that's how we figured out that it was Blackbeard, because we were asking a lot of questions about, like, were you a pirate, were you this, were you that, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so after that, I ended up asking them if they needed anyone else on their crew, because I was really interested in ghost hunting. So I was part of the crew for a few months. We ended up doing a few investigations in people's houses, and one of the more interesting investigations that we did, we were at a house. It was in Virginia Beach. The clients said that they were experiencing things moving, disturbances, yada yada yada. So we ended up going there after midnight. It was probably about 2 a.m. We told everybody in the house who was there to stay downstairs in the living room. We walked upstairs. We walked into their rooms, and we were recording, and we had this device that goes through radio stations to then pick up answers from entities. So we ended up walking through the upstairs, and then while we were in a different room, like we started in one room, and then we walked into a different room. And when we were in the different room, we heard a bunch of commotion in the first room upstairs that we were in. So we walked back in there, and all the clothes that were in the closet had been thrown out. Like, the closet was closed, closet door opened, and all the clothes were thrown out and were on the ground. And so we set up all our machines. We had an EMF reader. We had the spirit box, I think that's called, to siphon through all the radio stations, and we ended up communicating with something. We don't know what it was, but we pretty much told it to fuck off. But that was one of the more interesting times from paranormal investigation. There was also another time where I went to we did have an investigation lined up, but they canceled. So we were like, well, what are we going to do now? So we're like, let's go to a graveyard. I was a photographer for them. So we went to a graveyard, and I'm trying to, snap pictures of, the graveyard. And we were asking questions, and my camera stopped working. So I was just like, oh, this fucking piece of shit. And then when we got back to my place to listen to the recording, we heard something say, "What's your language?" after I had said that, which was crazy. And we also heard some like low growls in the recording when we got back and were listening to it, which was kind of creepy, because we were like, oh, whatever made that growl was near us while we were recording, because it was kind of like so yeah, anyways, it was quite interesting doing that kind of thing. But you know what? Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters?
We'll be breaking out our official BC Bowcraft ghost trap when we head out to Boston Bar into the overnighter in the unsanctioned graveyard.
Yeah, because I ended up picking up some ghost hunting equipment for that specific reason. I thought maybe I could get back into it. So we will be doing a live probably from, or maybe not, just recording. It's because a lot of times when you are doing ghost hunting, you have to go over all the footage. You have to go over the recordings, and sometimes you don't catch anything until you're listening to the recordings, because you just can't hear it. So
this is crazy. I'm watching a delay because Roxy's phone is down here, and it looks like we're about 10-second delay on this. It's super interesting. Anyway, so Spencer, if you happen to be watching out there, anybody in the small cabin community, come by, join the live feed, bring me a cigarette, or find me the guy that has them. So I did write a little bit of a script for this because we wanted to get into some of the aspects and featured kind of content that we were trying to bring to you in this live video about the truth about Los Cabos. So basically, like, we'll start off by talking about, like, we left Los Cabos at 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve a couple days ago. Christmas Day. A couple days ago. We landed at 9 p.m. in Vancouver, where we were received by our ex-ranger friend Novak and his partner, the beautiful Gina, who came with us back to Roxy's place before and then the next day we headed back up to the cabin community. The interesting thing landing there, I hate airports. I mean, I kind of used to it, used to the profiling, given that my body's pretty much 30% covered in tattoos. Speaking of which, I had our friend Larry hooked us up with a tattoo artist and musician friend out there, Mario, who is now tattooing independently from a shop. Amazing tattoo artist, amazing guy, amazing musician. We've got some Larry and Mario jamming out some sort of Mexican kind of tunes around a campfire we'll be using and getting that footage over to our other composer, O Marcus, who's currently in Manila, Philippines. Hello, Marcus, if you're out there. And he'll be adding a beat to it. So it's this big international production between Mexico and the Philippines to bring you some authentic Mexican music for the video coming up. But yeah, I wanted to get a tattoo while I was there because a lot of my tattoos, like I've got a crossroads that says East, West, Love, Hate. I got while working in Alberta a number of years ago, doing some artwork hanging for a giant new commercial condominium that we didn't put up. And while I was there, it was sort of in the middle. I spent a lot of time in New York and Nashville, back in the day, hopping freights and stuff and living out there. Being from the Midwestern Canada, kind of like in Manitoba, Winnipeg, when I was in Alberta, I found myself sort of halfway between where I came from and where I was now living. Ergo, the East, West, Love, Hate, kind of like the whole rap game thing about East Coast and West Coast, kind of encompassed in that. So this time in Mexico, last year, I didn't get a chance to get tattooed. So Mario hooked us up with a great tattoo. I got a thing for bats being my spirit animal. They're just kind of ridiculous and cute little sky puppies. So I suggested maybe a bat because I wanted to basically have an upper sort of like t-shirt suit, Japanese t-shirt suit, I guess you might call it, across my back, both my sleeves, hands, into both pecs. And I wanted to bring it back into more of an American style body piece by adding something on my sternum and my solar plexus. So I suggested to Mario maybe something like a bat or like a Mayan or Aztec kind of god or mask and stuff, because those look really cool. So he ended up, now I'm going to flash everybody out there. He ended up choosing the Mayan rain god Taluk, because British Columbia, lots of rain out here and stuff. And he did that up on my chest. Took about 4 hours, $200 American, so a lot cheaper, but the exchange works for him and stuff, and the cheapness works for me. Let's see if we can get a good look at this guy. And he also included some bat wings. They're a little shadowed, but so yeah, just sort of a Mayan Aztec god or Mayan god worshipped for good fortune, as well as the harvest, because it is the rain god. So thanks so much, Mario Mendoza, for that. I'll include links, as I have in the other video descriptions, to his Instagram account where you can check him out and get in contact with him if you happen to be in Cobo and looking to get tattooed or just hear some amazing Mexican music. Other than that, yeah, so when we landed at the airport, getting processed through duty kind of customs claim area, scanning the passport and whatever, got a little bit profiled and harassed and interrogated, not by one customs official, but by two. So a little bit irritated. I didn't think I needed to retain the receipt. I've already been, adequately harassed and interrogated. So moving along, I just tossed my receipt out. Next thing you know, after baggage claim, had to use that to get out of the airport. So then we got processed back into another special security area where there's a bunch of creepy dudes getting like cavity searched. I was honestly looking forward to the free colonoscopy, but they just asked the same questions all over again and process us through over to Novak and Gina. Yeah, so that we spent the night at Roxy's place last night and came up to the cabin, or the night before last, after we landed, and came up to the cabin and set up the live to come reach out to you guys. And we got a few viewers there. Who else is out there? Where are you guys watching us from? It's always great to know that kind of stuff. Let us know in comments, as well as Roxy will be moderating. Moderating. She's the hall monitor, and she'll be relaying your questions and stories about that you guys might have about Cabo. Larry, if you have anything interesting to say about Cabo and your experiences there, please do feel free to throw it in the comment and we'll read it out. But yeah, so what we discovered in Cabo, for example, I didn't realize last year going to Zihuatanejo landing that I couldn't bring in a vaporizer, that they were illegal there, which now I don't know where mine is. So this little guy, when I got stopped, they asked me, are you sure you're not importing any tobacco products? And I was like, well, I had this around my neck. I didn't know. I wasn't like, it was a big deal. It's like bringing over a package of cigarettes. It's not even something you have to claim. But one of these little pods ended up costing me $200 in duty. And I was like, can I just throw it away? I had no idea. And, you know, some bougie Mexican border chick with these giant nails that had like piercings in them and little rhinestones on them and stuff. I was like, no, you're officially a smuggler, technically. And so you can either pay the duty on that or get fined and possibly put in jail. So I was like, fine, I'm paying the $200 for one pod fill. Anyway, so another thing, when we came across this time, we were well aware of that. So we had, we didn't bring any vaporizers with us, but my drone, as we got through customs and whenever the guy's like, any iPads or drones or laptops or whatever, I was like, yeah, I got my drone here. So they processed it, looked at it, and he was like, yeah, you got to pay a tax on this. And they asked like how much it was and whatever. And so I just kind of fudged a number. Ended up paying, what was it? $197 to bring my own personal property into Mexico. And apparently also only Mexicans residing in Mexico are allowed to use drones. And so that's exactly what we did. Was we got someone from Mexico to do all of our drone shots, and they were wonderful. I can't remember the person's name or what they looked like for some reason. It's the strangest thing, so I can't give them a shout out. But yeah, that was a little bit annoying to discover. The drone also might be out of commission from the desert arid heat. But we'll see. We're going to try and get that running and stuff in the near future and check that out, and hopefully not have to throw more money at it.
Larry also mentioned, he says that's a scam. Bringing, and that it's not smuggling at all.
Oh, yeah, that's what they told me, and that's Mexico. It's, you know, everyone knows they're full of scams and kind of things like that. Getting pulled over by the federales in Ziwa, for example. Our buddy Harvey Mushman that's totally his real name, was driving the Vocho. And some of the lights in Ziwa don't even have an amber light. So it just went straight from green to red. So we technically ran a red. They pulled us over, harassed us for passports and our IDs and stuff. And of course, we didn't have any of that on us. So we ended up buying them out. They tried to charge us an extremely large amount of pesos. And we basically got out of it for, I think, 700 pesos in the end, which is just under $70. But yeah, they just laughed it off. But it was a good thing because that Vocho was not roadworthy or safe at all. They could have like possibly thrown a VI at us or whatever, but we got out of that one and headed back to the brothel we were sleeping about, with our host being that madam, Mama Reina. Speaking of which, our buddy that was our guide out there from the cartel mountain village of Elocote is now currently in Elocote. And while we were in Cabo, there was it was really hard to have like what felt like an authentic Mexican experience. It didn't really look like the Mexico you've seen in movies, and it's not the Mexico that I've experienced before. Very commodified, almost like a theme park of Mexico in a way.
It's an adult theme park.
Yeah. It's kind of like, here, come to Mexico, but it's the safe version of Mexico. And everything was very commodified and Americanized. There's like Centro, where it was basically felt like bar hopping around in Gastown. Larry and Mario and those guys took us out, and that was a great time. But it didn't have a Mexican experience or feeling to it. So we actually ended up meeting up with these ex SETA cartel members that gave us showed us around a little bit and got us into having a little bit more of an authentic Mexican experience in that way and whatever. Just because they know all the ins and outs and what it was there. And trying to remember the name of the little shops that you see in Mexico. There's a certain name for them, and I can't remember. I thought I wrote it down in a note, but apparently my notes are way too long and complicated. So anyway, those little shops, like we didn't really see many of them in Cobo at all. I don't remember seeing any of them in Cobo. Once we went to San Lucas,
like a stall, like a little stall.
Yeah, they're kind of like little shops, you know, and you get like Mexican trinkets and stuff like that and whatever. And it seemed like it was almost like it was like a bunch of chain stores all beside each other that you would purchase like the chain outlet, and the cataloged merchandise would already be supplied to you. So you had like a lot of sugar skulls that were just kind of like porcelain, mass produced, that were like glossy coated or whatever with an epoxy resin, things like that. Little statues. You've got your bone carved, fish bone carved little statues where they actually take ground up fish bones and they put them in a mold, and then you get the statue, and some of them get like a little detail painting and stuff here and there to add to the detail of them. And just lots of keychains and magnets. Oh my God, the magnets.
We got some good ones.
Oh,
there's one here.
Yeah, if you want to show that one off.
So we got this little guy, a little chile, a little Mexican chile going pew 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 pew. He's going crazy.
Sorry, how does he go?
Pew 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 pew.
And then there was this little guy, just like the kind of pseudo old school graffiti aspect to his character. And then Rochelle insisted we get one of these because it was like both of us as skeletons in Los Cabos. And I saw this one, which I had to get because it's got a Vocho on it, and we loved Beetlejuice. For those of you who haven't seen our Mexican cartel jungle mountain town video from last year in Guerrero, Mexico, check that out. I'll add the link to that in the description of this video afterwards. But yeah, so being there was all kinds of aspects like that. Things were also pretty much the same price there as they are here, except for some oddities. Like, well, cigarettes were like $8 a pack, so much cheaper there. They also have those amazing little crush filter guys that when you get down to the end, I always loved using those when I was more primarily a smoker, but now they're legal in Canada. I don't know if they're in the States, but you know, you get down to like near the filter and you just do a little snap and you kind of get that relaxing feeling like cracking a knuckle. And then it turns it into a menthol for a brief minute. So you kind of refreshed after the end of your cigarette. So cigarettes were cheaper, $8 a package. Gas was pretty much the same price, it felt like. Everything was in USD because Cobo just does sort of seem like a Mexican adult theme park in the way that it's formatted, and the implicity of safety that you feel there as compared to other cities in Mexico and towns. Yeah, so there was things like that. The cigarettes were cheap. I did get a beef Wagyu burger for about $20 Canadian when we did the conversion, which is a $50 burger here. So that was interesting. And what was explained to me by one of our other hosts, Juan, who actually introduced us to this, I believe it's a 10th generation bead artist. And you know those type of sculptures that you can get in Mexico that have all the little beads on them. So he walked us through what he does. It's Huchol art. I don't know. What does that say?
Huchol art. He was saying that the W or something is pronounced different. So
yeah,
I don't remember.
I think it's J is an H. The W is. It looks like Wichata or something, but the W is pronounced differently. So sorry, we don't know about that. Anyway, this is a map to those like beaded sculptures, and basically the sculpture gets dipped in beeswax because, like, for instance, beeswax was discovered in Egypt, and it just doesn't go bad. It just lasts forever. So they use the beeswax for that purpose on the sculpture, and you know, it'll be a sculpture of like what, a skull, or like a wolf, or a cactus, or what he was working on was this big giant butterfly.
There's a star, a sun, moon, eclipse.
Well, yeah, and that's the
coyote.
thing that I want to get into, is that it's all very symmetrical, and so with the beads, and it's tiny little beads on a little pin that they put in, spent hours to months on these sculptures, and within those patterns, I always noticed little things, but didn't know what they meant. Where there's they've got the cactus, which represents peyote, and then they've got a scorpion, which is said to be the protector, the guardian of the peyote. And it's all very shamanistic, psychedelic, kind of like spiritual stuff and whatever that these guys are practicing. And then I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a list of all the symbols and what they mean. There's a big write-up. So we got to interview this senor, and we'll have that up, and on the final video. There might be a couple videos coming out, but yeah, like everything, like I say, in Cobo was pretty much the same price. We did find a 2-liter jug of Tropicana which came out to $27 Canadian. And like I say, Juan, who introduced us to the Mayan Aztec guy or whatever, the bead artist, I'm not sure which it was. I got to go back and research all of that in the video to see what he said and get the actual designation on all of that. But so Juan was saying it's because it's a peninsula, it's kind of like an island, and so everything is sort of shipped there. But it just sort of seems like Cabo has become just this giant tourist trap in a number of ways, where in a sense, when you get off the plane in Cabo, right away you're assaulted just before you leave by people saying they're from resorts and like, come check out our timeshare, and then you get like free like rides from quads and stuff like that, and tours and camel tours. And who do we have here? Rochelle, do you want to see sweaters for sale? All these monikers and
sweaters for sale
handles.
says sup. And
Sup
then
sweaters.
They said, and then Larry's responding.
Was yeah, where are you coming from, sweaters? Who are you? Do we know you, or are you just finding the channel on your own? So while we were there, where was that?
Timeshares.
The timeshares. So yeah, you just get assaulted. So right when you get off the plane, there'll be people that say they're from your resort. If you're at a resort, last resort, oh yeah, I'm here for you. You can come with us, and they'll take you to a totally different timeshare and then trap you there for like 4 hours and feed you all this information and crappy food. And like there's the old scam where you end up in a cab, and then they'll take you to the middle of nowhere, and they want a bunch of money, or they're just going to drop you off in the middle of the desert. And if you're not familiar with Mexico or how to get around, say you don't have your SIM card yet from Telcel, you're just trapped, and you just have to rifle a bunch of money at them.
There is another scam that I discovered while we were there. We got an Uber to one of the docks. There was like a dock down below, but there was another way to get to another dock. So I was paying attention to the fact that the Uber driver on his screen, he kept moving the destination around. So we ended up at another dock. So the thing is that I kept seeing him do this, and I was like, where are we going? And I feel like because we were tourists and we spoke English and just, are not familiar with anything, that he thought that we wouldn't notice, because I was on my phone, he was on his phone. And so I was on my phone looking at where we were going, and I noticed the destination kept changing. So he changed the destination, and I was like, no, this is where I put the destination, and this is where we need to go. So we ended up, because we were going to different destinations, he ended up charging us more.
Sweaters are going to get to you in a second, because that's really interesting.
So he kept, because he changed the destination, and it was going to take us longer now to get to where we needed to be, our rate went up. So because I noticed that, I said, you know what, like, F this guy. I'm not tipping him. I'm not tipping him what I would normally tip a Uber driver. So yeah, so that's something that people should be aware of, because I didn't even know that the driver could change the destination up until that moment, which is kind of messed up. But yeah, so that's something to be aware of as another scam, because he's like, well, I'm gonna make more money going to the wrong destination, because I had to end up putting in the destination again And it's like I already put the destination in. I copied and pasted it initially. So like there's no reason why it should be, and it kept moving. It kept moving around to different places. So it was kind of messed up, and I caught on, and yeah, I I did not rate him very well because don't mess with our time or
A
money.
strongly worded email was issued to Uber. So yeah, sweaters. You were talking about like you found us through the algorithm, and that you're from New York, probably telling me to go somewhere warm. Well, the interesting thing was that I was talking about my time I spent in New York, living on Jamie, his rooftop from LP from Run the Jewels, and hanging out on the on his throwing a hammock on his fire escape and stuff, and talked about New York a little bit and freight hopping and turning the video of the channel more into adventure tourism. We're planning on heading out to New York and stuff like that. So we talked a lot about New York earlier on, or a bit and stuff. So that could be the algorithm. It's creepy, man, for sure. Like they just, well, hey, nice to meet you. It did something good. It's not doing that much great for our channel recently. And to note that I do have peers of mine with thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers that get tons of views on their videos, and they're all confused as to why, you know, like my bushcraft channel isn't doing better. They talk about how I'm more entertaining and charismatic. Well, maybe not charismatic, but it's a little bit more entertaining, tongue-in-cheek humor. I use music and, you know, do big edits and stuff like that. And what we've kind of come up with is that since the TV show Alone and COVID, bushcraft on YouTube has become super popular and just oversaturated. So I don't know. I'm trying my best here, but yeah, we're just chasing our tail at this point. We can't quite get monetized. So we're switching over to off of our broadcast schedule once every week to whenever it makes sense, because we're doing something crazy. Like I say, we've got that overnighter in Boston Bar in the Unsanctioned Graveyard that we're going to do winter overnighter in hammocks there. There's also a number of haunted locations around British Columbia, around where our cabin community is. And there's also other things planned that aren't so ethereal in that way or paranormal. There's the old Hell's Gate tunnel that's just beside the highway. We're going to do an overnighter there. There's a number of caves we need to inspect. There's a mine shaft nearby that we're going to go down to. There's also the Sasquatch caves that have like a lot of reported Sasquatch sightings out near Hope, British Columbia. So a lot of stuff planned coming up for you know, the rest of the winter and into spring and into summer. And it looks like we're going to try to be out at in where was that again? Thailand in February, March, to check out some property to start a off-grid build out there. That'll be included on the channel as well. Yeah, so that's let's talk a little about where we were staying in Cabo. So there's Los Cabos is made up of two twin cities. There's San Lucas, which I believe is the older part of Cabo, and then there's San Jose del Cabo, where we were staying in San Jose. There was a place, an area called Costa Azul, and from what I've researched and asked around, is that Costa Azul now kind of developed by American tourists migrating there as migrant workers and stuff, and setting up properties within the Costa Azul area.
Thanks for dropping in.
This specific area we were in was also affectionately nicknamed Gringo Hill. Sort of a self-depreciative sense of humor accepted that name, and there's even the Gringo Gazette that comes out of Gringo Hill, things like that. Beautiful area, a little more rougher area as far as like the environment and stuff. The streets were paved with sand, lots of nature kicking around. We found a siesta spot that was under this underpass right on the highway, the federal highway number 1 there, where a lot of locals would gather and play music and listen to music and just eat food. And they had like a little setup where there was food the day we were leaving.
And have cervezas and keep cool.
Yeah, and it's from that point that we ventured deeper into the desert on our little Navi scooters, who were sponsored by a company called Baja Scooter Rentals. And so Andreas and Fernando were the names that we had until we landed and met them covered in tattoos. Greatest guys in the world. They came all the way out from San Lucas, which is like a 30-40 minute drive to Costa Azul. We met them at the surf shop. They took me into San Lucas and learned something about these guys. So They introduced themselves in person as Stormy and King Tut. And there's reasons why they have these nicknames and stuff. But King Tut, I just started calling KT, as I do with people's initials often. So I guess Stormy had gotten into an accident with his child. I believe he was 6 years old. I'm not sure, Stormy or KT, if you're out there, if you can correct that for me. And his face kind of got crushed in and stuff. And so he was leaving the next day to Sacramento, I believe it was, with some help from the Shriners to get the proper emergency medical care that his kid needed. So it sounds like they're in recovery and doing well. So thanks so much to you guys for taking your time out with all of that going on to support us and uphold the reservation that we made for the scooters. And for granting us the sponsorship discount on those scooters. We hope you like the footage that we have for you coming up in our larger, more full-length edited video, which should be out in a couple of weeks. Got 417 or 71, I'm not sure. A little bit of dyscalculia there on that number. Shots for myself and Rochelle to go through, categorize, and format and build a story from that. We work a little bit backwards. We have a bit of a rough script, but we need to see what we ended up getting in order to put it together to have like a dialogue and story for you for that video. We're also getting a lot of pretty amazing music for that. Working with, oh my God, who are we working with? Mariachi El Bronx again for this video. Get some of that more upbeat kind of Mexican hardcore music. Well, I guess it's not hardcore. They're a hardcore band called the Bronx, but they have the mariachi band called Mariachi El Bronx. So we're gonna get that in there and some other interesting licensed music. Sort of a big surprise for you there. As I say, Marcus is working on something. We've already got tracks around Fireside from Mario Mendoza. I'll put a link to his Spotify page, more piano music than anything on that one, but he was playing some Mexican accordion, is accompanied by Larry playing guitar, and we got some traditional Spanish music there. We're also going to be looking into getting licensing from Ween. If you don't know their Buenos Tardes song, we're talking to Ween and getting that song registered, hopefully, and licensed. Other than that, talking about Costa Azul, we've talked about Costa Azul. What other notes do I have here? So yeah, Baja scooter rentals. And then when I got their paperwork, it actually said that I had to sign for the sponsorship. It actually, I prefer the name Dirty Amigos that they go by, but I guess for online, they just go by Baja scooter rentals. And that's like pretty much it. Like, I don't know what else to talk about. I think we've covered all of the basics about Cobo and just the whole truth about the expensiveness of Cobo, the costs of things. Talked about security, baggage claims. I don't know. We can show you some other stuff we got. As I say, it's hard to find anything really authentic Mexican or unique because of all of the commodified kind of like products in the stores. But at one point when we were going on our little pirate ship, we saw this store, and what drew my attention to it was I do a bit of archery, and they had these like pseudo authentic, I guess, Guerrero archery sets where you'd get like 3 arrows, all handmade, leather bound and stuff, and a bow. It's kind of like, well, I wonder how much that is. Just curious while we're waiting to board our pirate ship. And it turned out to be like $300 in an exchange rate. But then I looked over and I saw this amazing little dagger, and we're not exactly sure what it's made of. It's either bone. It looks like it could be a rib. And there's a little bit, and the feathers on there. And there's a little bit of like, I don't know what you would call it, but it looks like flint mapping. Like if you've seen the movie, oh no, what was that movie called? Benicio del Toro's in it. And I'm so bad with actors' names, and I work with them all the time. I have to direct these people, and I can never remember their names. Hunted with Benicio Toro and what's the other guy's name? Oh no, I can't remember. I'm so sorry to that guy. I don't remember the name of. It's a fun little movie, and it talks about kind of like this ranger that's teaching this guy how to do these things and whatever. And in it, they do some kind of flint mappy type stuff and sharpening and serrating a rock to make it into a knife. And that sort of seems like what's been done on this guy. A little cheesy. It does say Los Cabos on it and stuff. But yeah, and it's got some what is it? Not porcelain, but
Ceramic.
ceramic applique attached to the bone. Like it looks to me like it could be a rib, the way it's bent out. And pretty cool little piece. Came to about $56 Canadian. It's all leather, handmade, wrapped, carved out, and the napping you can see on the serration on the edge of the blade. And it's fairly sharp. It comes with this great little palm and leather casing sheath. So that's hanging up in the cabin, along with all the bushcraft knives and stuff that I worked out and used and reviewed for those guys. Yeah, so I guess that's about it. If anybody has,
I also wanted to mention something. God, no, I forgot. One fun thing about going to San Jose del Cabo is that they do have an art walk, which is really lovely. There's a bunch of little vendors there, and because it's Christmas time, I think there was a lot more Christmas inspired vendors. But we did end up seeing this Guerrero Shaman.
Yeah.
Performing a ritual on somebody, or I think it was a cleansing ceremony.
From what I could gather when I got up close video recording and stuff, he was using some kind of bird wing.
Yeah, he was using a feather
and a smudge.
He had a smudge, and he was cleansing the person. So
and it looked like there was some kind of cleansing process because they put him in a Guerrero headdress, like a warrior's headdress afterwards. They had him growl to take photos and stuff. So it seemed like he was being inducted into being a Guerrero, like or a Aztec warrior, or Mayan warrior, whatever. But yeah, that was very neat. And not to sound terrible about Cabo, we had a wonderful time. It just wasn't the adventurous kind of Mexico that I had been used to. It was really interesting though, and I would definitely go back. There's a lot of things to benefit from there. The surf cabin was amazing, $50 American a night for this beautiful cabin.
That was the shaman there. Look at that headdress, amazing. It was such a cool thing to see. And if we had time, but we were so hungry, we had to eat something right away. But if we had time, I would have definitely gone to him to get some cleansing done, because we can all use a little cleansing sometimes.
Yeah, and that was a wonderful thing about being in Centro. And thank you very much and so much to Larry and Mario and Sophia and Amanda and everyone that we met out there. The bumps in the bathroom, the amazing mezcal we ended up drinking. So many amazing foods and dishes and stuff like that. Some free pool for a period of time. Played some 9-ball out there. Played pool with another Mexican gentleman who insisted on paying for all the games that I couldn't beat. So the one time I did beat him, I managed to scratch my balls a bunch of times on my shots to box in the 8-ball. So in the end, he ended up scratching on the 8-ball, and I ended up winning. And he thought that was really clever and stuff. And he insisted on paying for the games. He was quite entertained by that. And Roxy just sort of sat back and watched, smirking as things unfolded.
I'd also like to give, yes, Larry, you're a good friend of mine. I'd like to give you a shout out. Thank you so much for showing us around. But I'd also like to give a shout out to Larry's roommate, David Morin. Please check him out. If you like R&B, he has got such a great voice, and he uses loop pedals, plays so many instruments. He ended up getting a sponsorship to play his music out at a resort in Mexico, which is why they're out there. But please check him out. David Morin, amazing artist.
Can you bring up Mario's?
Yeah.
Yeah, and meeting David was awesome. It was like meeting a long lost cousin I hadn't seen in years, and we just got along like gangbusters right away. And that's a big benefit to when you meet people and you meet their friends, it really shines and shows the person's character you meet them through. So thank you so much, Larry, for inviting us into your home that evening and stuff and showing us around and everything.
And then check out Mario Mendoza. He also he works in some resorts or hotels there, and he's the one who tattooed
Sands.
He tattooed Sands, and amazing musician. You'll be able to see him in the video that we've got coming up for you when he's playing the accordion. So good.
Oh, and Larry just posted
David Moran music.
I don't know how to say it, Transi Mario Mendoza. So if you search that on Instagram, I know that'll come up. I think for Spotify, it's another name he's going by, but we will add these links to David's music as well as Mario's music in the description once this video processes into the live content channel where you'll find all of our past lives. And if you want to check out more about the beautiful surf cabin and find out about booking that for yourself, super cheap, $50 a night, as I said, amazing place, outdoor washrooms, outdoor kitchen, so wonderful, great security. Not that you need it in Gringo Hill or Costa Azul, but yeah, the Autumn, the host there, she was fantastic. If you want to check out more about the surf cabin, I think our not last live, but the one before that we did on the first Thursday when we landed is all about the surf cabin and walks you around. We also see the surf cabin in our final video that should be out within the next 2 weeks. And I don't know. I think we've taken up enough of your guys' time. Thanks to everybody for checking us out. Don't forget to like, comment on this video, other videos. Check out our other videos. We can use all the watch hours we can get. Try and convince us to continue doing our weekly broadcasts. And maybe we won't transition. But we want to bring you more exciting, more interesting kind of content with a bushcraft element in these travel tourism videos coming up. So we can put a little bit more time into that. I'm going to focus on this learning curve, getting through learning to tattoo, as well as developing beats through a program that I've downloaded of my own, because I've always had some musical ideas. And yeah, we'll let you know.
He used to be in a ska band.
She just found this out. Yeah, so that's a thing. It's a dirty little secret. Maybe I can find some of, there's one recording with us and Propaganda from back in the day, a live version of Ska Sucks that they tricked me into playing trumpet for, not realizing it was an anti-ska song. So funny, guys. We'll try and find that track and maybe we include that in an upcoming video. Yeah, other than that, please do subscribe, hit notify so that whenever we release something or we're doing a live, you will be notified and you can check it out. We appreciate all of your support so much. Yeah, we hope to see you again in the future. And we'll take any suggestions, any questions, any comments, suggestions for videos that you want to see. Like recently, my barber out in the Mighty Fraser barber shop, which we featured a little bit in our video just before we left, talking about coming out to Cobo and stuff. He requested essentials to take when you're hiking. And you know, as bushcrafters, we don't tend to hike so much. We just sort of drive to a location, walk in maybe like a kilometer into the woods, and then just sort of do our bushcrafting and set up tents and whatever, and like make stuff and tools and eat food and, well, shoot videos. It seems like shooting videos has become part of being a bushcrafter. That's to say, like when I learned, it was called cowboy camping or military camping back in the day with my Korean war veteran father. But anyway, I think we've taken up enough of your time. I think I've said that 5 or 6 times. This time it's for sure, because we need to eat something. We need to throw on a fire. We need to decompress from the trip. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. And let us know, again, anything you want to see, anything you want us to do, we're here. We're whores for your watch hours. So we'll see you guys again real soon. Thanks for joining us. Rochelle, did you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody. We love you all.
It's Mike Poncetta.